Well, hello, welcome, and as you can see, this is lesson 7.5, and we're going to be talking about circle graphs. And my guests tonight are
Jack and Ashley.
So Jack and Ashley are going to help me talk about circle graphs. Now, this is a very challenging lesson to try to record on video. So I'm going to give you the basics of circle graphs, but to actually manipulate them and do the measuring, we're going to really have to work on this in class. So let's just talk about circle graphs real quickly. Here's a good example of a circle graph, and I found this one online, and this is a pet survey. So basically what they did is they went and they found a bunch of people, and they asked them, how many pets do you have? Or what kind of pets you have. So the yellow represents all the people, almost half that didn't have any pets. Okay, and then you see there's a big chunk that have dogs, almost as big a chunk, if not bigger. It looks like it's actually a little bit bigger that have cats. Very small part that have birds, about the same, a little bit bigger that have gerbils, but both of those are pretty small. And then the smallest one of all would be reptiles, and that would be things like iguanas and snakes and things like that. And what circle graphs are really, really good at showing is not so much just raw data, because here we don't have any idea how many people we talk to. Okay, we don't have any numbers at all. What they're really good at showing is how to break down a whole into different parts. So we can look at this real quickly and realize that almost half the people have
no pets.
No pets, right. Boom, right there. Okay, which is more popular, cats or birds?
Cats.
By a lot, right?
Yeah.
By like, what, you guess maybe like 7 or 8 times more?
Yep.
Okay, which is more popular, cats or dogs? We were just talking about that.
Cats.
Barely though, right?
Yeah.
Just very, very slightly. Now, there could be people that have multiple animals too. And we don't know how this survey necessarily accounted for that, but that's the deal. So whenever you want to break down a whole group of people into different percentages, circle graphs are great for showing percentages, and that's actually how you make them. What you would actually have to do to make this graph is you take your raw data, and you would change each of the different pieces. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pieces, and we would change them each into a percentage. Then we're going to use something called a percent circle. Okay, you'll see that a little bit later in the video, to actually draw and make this percent. All right, we just lost Jack. All right, well, let's continue on. Ashley and I will investigate this. Now, you can also use a percent circle. If I want to take a circle graph and I want to get data off of it, and I want to be very precise, I can actually measure these different pieces using a percent circle. And again, that's something I'm going to really have to show you in class tomorrow. And again, you'll see the percent circle and you'll see how to line it up. And we'll practice measuring percent circles in class. Okay, let's take a look at another circle graph. Okay, here's another one. Now, a lot of times the circle graph, this one that we did with the pets actually had the labels written in, and at the top it had pet survey. Notice that this one does have a title over it. It's the U.S. population.
Oh, it has all the
right. It's got the population in 2000 by ages. This one doesn't have any data over here, does it? All the data is over here, and this is called either a key or sometimes it's called a legend. And that's where we find what the different colors mean. So, all right, so all of you guys are between the ages of 0 and 17. So look over here and you see that your piece of the pie is the kind of blue color. So this would be everybody that's 0 to 17. Basically, that would be everybody who's high school age or younger. Okay? The next group, 18 to 44, we would consider college and young adults, and that's this big purple. Okay, those are going to be people that are probably working, starting out jobs in the first part of their career. Then 45 to 64, these are older working adults. These are middle age and up to retirement. And then this last piece, since it represents 65 and older, that's going to represent probably senior citizens, people that have retired. Okay, and so you can see really quickly in the year 2000, the kids were actually kind of small compared to everybody else, right? That the biggest portions of the population are the adults from 18 to 44 and then from 45 to 64. And then a little bit bigger than the kids were all the senior citizens. So that means there's more grandparents than grandkids, which is kind of interesting. You'd almost think it's the other way around. But according to this survey, wherever they did this U.S. population, so if this is based on actual data, it turns out there's more old people than young people. Okay? Yeah. And, you know, and that has ramifications for things like Social Security and things like that. So you hear about stuff like this in the news. Now, if I wanted to actually measure what percent of the U.S. population were kids from 0 to 17, again, I'd use a percent circle, and I do that. Now, sometimes you'll run across a circle graph that's actually done the work for you. Okay, because really the picture is supposed to show the percents. Okay, and then you have a title and you have the labels. But this one, they not only made the pieces of the pie the right percentages, but they've actually labeled them with the percent. So this one you don't have to measure. All the work is done for you. So if I asked you a question from this one, like what percent of the people play either baseball or gymnastics? Well,
20.
well, baseball's 20 and gymnastics is 5, so that would be 25% of the people. That'd be exactly 1/4.
25.
Okay, what's the most popular sport?
Soccer.
Soccer. Okay, by how much?
By a lot.
Nope.
By
5% over track and 10% over baseball, right?
yeah.
Okay. Which two sports tie in popularity?
Baseball and basketball.
There you go. And even if you didn't have the numbers, you could probably look at the pieces of the pie and kind of determine that they're the same size. Now, granted, this is only at this particular elementary school. This is not for, all the world. All right, let's talk about percent circles now. How do you actually measure these? Okay, well, what you're going to do is you're going to use this thing called a percent circle. Okay? And I'm going to pull this out of the library here. And so this is a percent circle. And we're going to make these in class tomorrow. Okay? And I think I probably have to bring it in. And so there you go. That is a percent circle. And what you do when you're using a percent circle is you take the piece of the pie you're trying to measure, okay, and you always line this radius right here, the 0, up with the left side of the piece of the pie, and you always measure going clockwise. So you'll actually lay this circle graph on top of the graph, and you line it up so that the centers both match. Okay. Hey, welcome back, Jack. We're finished up. I'm just going. Okay, hold on just 1 second. We're almost done. So we're showing how to measure with a percent circle. So you line it up, and then you read around the outside of this percent circle, and that's how you find the percents. Okay. And you can do anything from 0 to 100%. Now, to actually use one of these, you need one you can see through. And you need to actually be able to put it on your paper, and you need to move it around. Okay. The same is true. You also need a percent circle if you're going to draw a circle graph. See, with all the graphs that we're talking about this chapter, you need to be able to do two different things. If I give you a graph, you've got to be able to look at it and understand what it means. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. On the other hand, if I give you data, you have to be able to turn it into that kind of graph. So like we saw that today in class with bar graphs, right? We had some questions where they gave you the data and they said, okay, now draw a bar graph. You had other questions where they gave you a bar graph and they said, all right, tell us some stuff about this data based on looking at the graph. So both directions are something we have to do. Same thing with circle graphs. So with circle graphs, if they're already given to you, you have to be able to measure them and answer questions. If they give you the raw data, you have to be able to turn it into a circle graph. And that's a pretty complicated process. I'm going to walk you through that in class. I'm not going to try to squeeze that into a video. Okay? So that's pretty much it for circle graphs today. We'll be practicing these in class, and we'll mostly start out by measuring circle graphs that are already made, but we will talk a little bit about how to make our own circle graphs. That's it. So Ashley, Jack, thanks for your help, and that will be it. Let's see, we got one last slide, I believe.
Bye.
See y'all later.